Good evening, family. Tony here once again. It's Saturday, April the 9th. And I want to get started by blowing the shofar. So if you have earbuds in, turn them down or turn your volume down. Praise God. Hallelujah. Hope everyone's doing great. Got some interesting stuff to talk about, Rapture talk. And I want to, first, I have something important that I want to share with you guys. I received an email from a subscriber named Amanda. And her and her husband sent me an email. They have a little small ministry. And with her permission, I want to read her email, and then I'm going to leave her email address in my in the description box. So it starts with, "Hello, Brother Tony. My husband and I have been subscribed to your YouTube channel for at least a year, maybe two. I want to brag on the Lord before I brush the topic of the Bibles. We recently, in the last 10 months, have been going to a local church. Prior to this, despite being saved, we did not attend a church and felt we didn't need to. Holy Spirit had different plans for us. And, the Holy Spirit had different plans for us. This church, when we first began attending, had only 8 people in its attendance, counting the preacher and his wife. With my husband and I and our 2 children, it equaled 12 in attendance each Sunday. In July of last year, our church began a bus ministry and a vacation Bible school. There weren't any children in the church besides ours until then. That led to a Sunday school ministry for the children, and now we have 2 buses, one for adults and one for children. We went from a group of 12 to a group of 44, praise God. God is so awesome. Our church has received 3 separate donations, each with the one condition that we use the money to purchase and distribute Bibles to as many people as possible in these last days. We are honoring that request. This was something we were trying to do on our own before we even started attending this church. The Lord provided. At the moment, our church has 1,000 Bibles and more on the way. They are KJV Schofield Study Bibles. If you have anyone express a need for a Bible and you would like for us to ship some to you, totally free of charge, we would love to do that for you. We are, of course, distributing locally in our area as well. I wanted to reach out to you in case any one of your subscribers needs a Bible. Maybe their Bible is worn out and they would like a new one, or maybe they just don't have one and would like one. If you want, you can give out this email address to contact us for a free Bible, if you so choose. As well, please pray about it and get back with us as soon as you can. My church is Eagle Heights Independent Baptist Church of West Plains, Missouri. I hope my email is not too confusing." Okay, that's good enough. Anyways, guys, if there's anybody out there that is in need of a Bible for whatever reason, or if you know someone who is in need of a Bible, this is a place where you can get some. I'm sure that the supplies are going to be limited at some point. So right now they seem that they have a few. Now I've been sitting on this for a few days, guys. I just haven't had anything to make a video about. I haven't felt led to do it. However, today I have, and I do feel led. So again, this is a man and his wife in Missouri who has received some donations for some free Bibles, and they have at the time over 1,000, and more on the way. So if you know someone who is in need of a Bible, someone that you're trying to reach to get saved, or for whatever reason you need a new Bible, just email Amanda and her husband via the email that I will leave in the description. And so with that, I want to get to the gospel. If there's anyone out there who is hearing my voice right now that does not believe, has not accepted Jesus Christ, and that's you. Yes, exactly you. You're sitting there thinking, could he possibly be talking to me? And yes, I am talking to you. Now you're scratching your head wondering, that's not possible. How could he be talking to me? Well, I am. I'm talking directly to you. You need to hear this message. Jesus Christ was the Word of God made flesh. He came to the earth and lived the life of a man, a perfect life for us in our place because we couldn't do it. He died on the cross as the perfect sacrifice and paid our sin debt in full on the cross. He was buried, raised on the third day, ascended to heaven, promised that he would come back, all shedding his precious blood, every drop of his precious blood for our sins. Our sins are forgiven the moment that we believe him. John 3:16 said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life." Also says that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, that none are righteous, no, not one. We are all sinners. Each and every one of us were born into sin from the very first man who the first sin was committed, the first man and woman in the Garden of Eden. And every man and woman and child, or every child has been born, I guess you're not born a man or a woman, every child that has been born since then has been born into a state of sin. And Jesus is the only way. Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes unto the Father except through me." There's no other way to heaven except through Jesus Christ. So believe on him today. You can do it right now, right where you're at. You don't have to wait till you're doing better, you're feeling, ashamed. Jesus says, "Come to me as you are, for while we were yet sinners, he died for us." So don't procrastinate on this, guys. Time is short, and we're not promised another second on this earth. You could be thinking about, maybe tomorrow I'll go to church and get saved, and then die tonight, and then you'll face judgment in hell. So don't wait, guys. Do it now. It's just something you do between you and God. It's a heart thing. You must believe with your heart. You must believe. I'm sure you've heard of the ABCs of salvation. Simply means to admit that you're a sinner, because you can't come to Christ unless you're admitting you're a sinner, because otherwise you wouldn't have any need of Christ. But the only way to get saved truly is belief, and that's the B. You believe that Jesus is the Son of God, that died on the cross, was buried and raised on the third day for redemption of sins, for remission and redemption of sins. Believe that, and you will have eternal life. God will send you his Holy Spirit. You will become a new creature in Christ, and he will begin to work inside of you through his Holy Spirit and make you a better person, and not to mention will give you the gift of eternal life. So don't procrastinate. Do it today. And now I got some things to talk about. Guys, I'm the person that stands out on the porch and gets all these incredible confirmations. I don't know why. I don't know why God shows me things, but sometimes I maybe misinterpret what I'm getting. One of the big ones that happened was I had prayed because of a brother in Christ who had told me that he had received a word from the Lord, half awake and half asleep, that said, "We're leaving," or he said, "I'm sorry, we're going home this next month." He thought it sounded odd, and so did I. He asked me about it, and I asked my family, kind of got a consensus. We all agreed, it must mean next month. I mean, really, what else could he mean? But that was February 14th. So we thought that March was going to be the month. But then after March passed, and I kind of slipped in a little bit of depression, to be honest, and I couldn't figure out. But this confirmation, I had went out on the porch and prayed and had the most incredible confirmation with these two dogs. And then it happened again the very next day. And both times the first time when I had said in Jesus' name, these dogs that never come around at night just come running up out of nowhere, jumped up on me, and I felt it was strongly a confirmation. The next day I was sending a text to my brother in Christ, who also the one who had the word. And I was telling it to him again. I'd already told him the night before, but I was telling him the whole story again. Now, this time it was in daylight, and the dogs were in the yard, because they do come and hang out. They're not anymore. They only came out for around a month, and now I don't see them anymore, which was weird. It's almost like they were here just for that reason. But they were out in the yard, and I told him the story again. I said, I really believe that was a confirmation. And then right when I said in Jesus' name, they come running up, and then I went to hit the send button. Them dogs looked up. I saw them out of the corner of my eyes like they were triggered. Come running up again. This time, the one dog, the beige dog, was the more dominant dog. The black one comes with them, but he never really gets a chance to jump on me before the beige one kind of knocks him out. I think it was a girl. I think the beige one was a boy, and he knocks the girl out of the way. Kind of like my dogs in the pen do. Midnight and Ziva. Midnight always knocks Ziva out of the way whenever I try to pet him. But he jumps up on me, sticks his claws right into my right side. And guys, that was very profound. And I jumped back and I said, "Okay, I hear you. I hear you loud and clear." And I know that I was speaking to the Lord and to the dogs at the same time, because it's just, so I really thought that we were going in March, because what I had actually prayed was this: "Lord, are we really going home this next month?" Now, I included that in the prayer. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why I even used those terms, because that probably is what tripped me up. Then I said, are we really going home in March? Or, so I added that in at the end. Of course, we know God doesn't recognize Gregorian months and calendar dates and stuff. And so, really the month that we were looking at would have been one of God's months, whatever that is. So this next month must have meant whatever you're doing now, whatever you're looking at now, and we were looking at that point into Adar 2, into the Feast of Esther and all that stuff that would happen at the end of the year on the Jewish calendar. So I believe that what he meant was once what you're doing right now, wait a month, skip a month. This next month, we're going home. In other words, pointing to April. And so, now I could be wrong about that too. It could wind up being May. But I don't think that this next month could have possibly meant wait 2 months. But I believe it could have meant wait 1 month. Because it doesn't sound right. This next month, it has some kind of a ring. And just like my brother in Christ said, he wouldn't word it that way. So that's why I thought it was from the Lord. And I wouldn't word it that way. I've never heard anybody word, yeah, this next month we're going to talk about it. That don't really ring. It does something in that language. And that only God can say things like that and change the whole meaning in just a slight twist of a word. So I believe that I was just jumping the gun because I was so excited. But at any rate, let me get to my point. I believe that now we're looking at April, and I believe that it's going to be sometime. Honestly, now this is just me. Okay, first of all, I'm not setting dates. I'm speculating. If I wanted to set a date, I would have to set a date before Passover, because I believe that this particular Passover, and when I say this particular Passover, I'm meaning if this is the year, of course, and I believe that it is. If this is the year that we go home, then I believe this is the Passover that's important, and not necessarily the Passover feast itself, but this Passover season. So that could, so I could say in an argument that, any time between now and the end of, or the 16th, let's just say the 16th of May, because of the blood moon. But we still look at it, there's other things to look at, with the fig tree generation, things like that. So May 14th is kind of the cutoff. And if you use the Hebrew calendar and what day it was actually on May the 14th in 1948, it would have been IR 5, which equals out to May the 6th. So, you could bring it in a little closer, but I'm thinking, now this is just my thinking, and just hear me out. This is my theory, and, I could be totally wrong. I'm not a scholar in these things, and I certainly ain't smarter than people who have studied it for years and years. So this is just a simple theory, but I got some other things to talk about after this, but I want to get this one out. So let's just say hypothetically that God was saying that the 13th month that Israel added on, he didn't recognize as a month. It was the 13th month. It's a month at a time. I've had commenters mention this to me too. And also my brother in Christ, we talked about this. It's a month at a time. It's not even supposed to be there. Maybe God didn't recognize that month at all. Maybe that's why he was saying this next month. Wait until this fake month passes, and then let's start from there. Okay, but we went right into, from the 13th month, which is actually would have been like the end of the year, the 12th month, but the 13th month because they added it, we would have went from there right into Nisan 1. Of course, we know that, back in Old Testament times, God didn't use the Nisan or those names. Those names were names that probably came out of Babylon. So he used it like the first month, first day. That kind of language, the second month, 14th day, or first month, 14th day is Passover, whatever. So maybe, just maybe, somehow, this is a time when, now this is kind of going to be difficult for me to explain, guys. So just try to hear what I'm saying, because really what I'm saying isn't really there's no way to prove it or back it in any way other than just a few scriptures here and there. Let's just say this is definitely the year, okay? Let's say that we know we're in the year. We know that the Passover was fulfilled in Christ. The Passover in itself, the word Passover, actually comes from a word in Hebrew that meant offering. So Passover is a man-made word to begin with, even though we know that the word Passover, it totally makes sense because we will, death passed over us, but offering, when the offering was made, death passed over us. So the offering represents Jesus and points to Jesus. So anyways, to make my point, maybe this Passover is being observed in April. the one in April, is being observed all over the world as Passover. And for all intents and purposes, it is. And don't get me wrong. But there's something happening in the stars that is something different, okay? Aries, okay? And I know you guys have heard this. There's been arguments. I know Brother Sandy just threw the idea out the door when it was presented to him. Now, I'm not talking about the barley. I get the whole barley thing. He disagreed with the barley being a beef. Barley doesn't have anything to do with the month starting. That may be true. And I'm not even talking about barley. I mean, I see that barley is important because it was actually mentioned in the Exodus. But let's look more at God's calendar, at the stars. And even the famous historians, and there was a couple famous historians, one of them was Josephus in the book of the Antiquities of the Jews, mentioned that the Passover couldn't start until the sun was in Aries. And then, of course, that would start the new year, the sliver of the moon, when the sun was in Aries. That would start the first month of the year. And then on the 14th day of that month would be the Passover, right? Well, the sun is not in Aries right now, and it won't be until the 19th, which is after the Passover. Passover is 14th. Actually, it's sundown on the 14th, so you're really the 15th. Jesus was on the cross on the 14th. The Jews wanted him off the cross by sundown because that would start the Passover and the Seder, feast and all that stuff. The Seder meal, which is the Passover meal, it's the Seder meal. So, and by the way, the Passover may not mean offering. That might be what, or does it? You might have to look that up to be sure, but I'm pretty sure there's another word. Passover is kind of made up word, but it makes sense. So anyways, so the 14th of Nisan, or the 14th day of the first month, was when Passover would start. Well, if this were the year, and like I said, again, we're just assuming that this is the year. We know that representation, the sun being in Aries. Aries is a picture of a lamb. Some would say it's a picture of a goat, but it's a picture of a lamb. It's a representation of Jesus, the Lamb of God. And it's widely believed that the sun was in Aries when Jesus was crucified as well. So I can't say that for certain. It's just something I've heard. So this is an important celestial sign for the Passover. But we're not talking second Passover being the rapture. That's not where I'm going with this. What I'm going with this is that, what if this year, and only this year, because this would be the year of the resurrection and the year of the rapture, the sun isn't going to be in Aries until May, because the true rapture, the true Passover that we must be in attendance of in heaven will be happening. And also, what's the word? It's going to be, hold on a second. Wow, my brain just went blank. Proclaim. The sign of the sun in Aries may be the sign that proclaims the true Passover, not second Passover, but the true first Passover. And maybe this year and this year alone, this happened. Because, normally, the first month of the year, the sun would be in Aries. That's what we've come to understand. Now, like I said, I'm not an astronomer or anything like that. So, I could be making a mistake here, but this is just something that kind of rings true in my spirit. That we would go home in April, sometime around the same date, because we also are, if we're not in the first month, and then we're in the last month of the year. And all this is kind of spiritual because we know they've already added the extra month. So they're not adding a second extra month. That wouldn't even make sense. So we got to be in the first month, hypothetically speaking. However, if the stars don't line up for it, then there's something going on here. There's something going on here that could mark a very special time in history that God is setting up for us so that we can attend the Passover in heaven. And could it be the second Passover? Could the second Passover be marked by the sign of the first Passover? Because we are so journeying to heaven. And because, I don't know, it's just some things that I'm throwing out there in my thoughts. I don't know. But I believe that this is the month. And when we were looking in February at March, we were looking at the Feast of Esther, or the Feast of Purim, which was, the the story of Esther. They are celebrating the fast of Esther around the Passover season this year, on right before Passover this month. I mean, not this year, but this year, but this month. I mean, so that's interesting too, guys. So the fast of Esther was something that was we were me and my brother in Christ, my friend, was looking at this really hard in February because he had a dream about this blue and white spree candies. It turns out that on Purim they give out blue and white chocolate lentils. So he had a dream about his mother being his guardian angel, giving him these candies way before he knew anything of what that meant. He thought they were sprees, which is interesting, you know. But blue and white is also the color of March. If you look up, the months have colors assigned to them. And March's colors are blue and white. So anyways, and what confirmed that blue and white thing, I was out watching a video about the rapture happening before the new year started. And I saw a blue jay. Now, you don't see them very often. I don't see them very often out here, but every once in a while I want to fly up. But right when I was listening to him saying you need to stop looking at the Gregorian calendar and look at God's calendar, right when he said that, a blue jay came flying down, landed in the yard. I got my camera ready. He flew up in a tree, and I snapped a little picture. It's hard to make it out, but it looked like it was had a little spot of red on it. It was blue and white and had a little spot of red right under his, you know, the breast wings there, the whatever you call them, the wings right there at his, you know, right there on his shoulder, chest, and there was a little spot of red. So I was telling my friend that this is interesting because there's the blue and white is there, but there's also the red. Something that came to my attention when I told him that was that in the Bible, sometimes the color blue for royalty, like a king's robe, is replaced with purple. Sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's purple. Isn't this interesting? If you add just the tiniest bit of red to blue, it becomes purple or lavender or purple. And speaking of lavender, I've got lavender irises growing all around my house. Always have ever since I moved in here. So anyways, so purple is only purple when you add a tiny bit of red to blue. But that blue and white being the month of March, but also it's Israel's flag. Also, blue and white shows up all the time in so many things. I made a video about the UN having the blue helmets. Their colors are blue and white. So many things are blue and white. And then today my wife and my daughter went shopping. I think they went to a Goodwill or somewhere and was buying T-shirts for everybody. They had a bunch of T-shirts on sale, and they just happened to pick me out this shirt right here, which is it's Tommy Hilfiger. But what's funny, look at the colors, guys. Blue shirt, that's blue around the edge. That's their logo. There's blue, white, and red. Isn't that interesting? Just of all days, you know, I was planning to make this video. I'd already thought about what I was going to say. So anyways, that's really interesting, really cool. So I think that this is a high watch month. And also, guys, go look at Arron, Brother Arron with God a Minute. The past couple videos have been outstanding. He's made these videos on maybe the last 3 videos. These connections with the number 222, being that the Strong's Hebrew, I believe it's Hebrew. Yeah, the Strong's Hebrew for 222 is mountain or hill. And the Greek meaning of Strong's, it's actually 2022. 2022 this year, 2022 is the meaning in Hebrew is the mountain or hill, but in Greek it means to pour upon. And there's also, if you watch his video about it, the first one, he talks where there's also the in the Greek it also has an upward. It means to rise. It means to go up. It's like a rapture. So every time he's reading in the Bible, all these places where it says heal, he's saying, okay, that's 222. That's year 222. And then there's, also that connotation of rapture. So every time he sees the word mountain, there's this picture of rapture in 2022. And now that his most recent video, he's showing all the places in the Bible where, and I'm talking, he's going through the book, start from the beginning, just going through these books, these random verses were like 222 or 214 or, you just got to go watch it because I can't remember all the details. But every one that he reads is associated with this month, has some association with either something positive or negative dealing with Israel or almost like an escape or rapture. It's like judgment, rapture, judgment, rapture, judgment, rapture. It's incredible. And I don't think there's any mistake there. I don't think that's a coincidence. So there's something I want to read you guys. Now, if y'all have watched my last couple of videos, you'll know where I talked about My whole life has been wrapped around the story of King David, and I didn't even realize it. Amazing, absolutely blows my mind. And Brother Aaron's saying that he believes now with his name being Aaron and how he's tied directly to the Bible or to the rapture too. I believe that this is something that is happening to many Christians, maybe all Christians, they're just not seeing it, that our lives are tightly connected because God, he guides the path of a righteous man. We're only righteous through Christ. So man or woman, whatever, but he guides our path. So if he guides our path and it's through Christ, when we accept Christ, he begins to develop our lives around that. Heck, I got saved at 7 years old, so I've been a Christian a very long time. So my whole life has been, like this. I mean, not this profound. I really didn't really start being like, I've had miracles though. I just hadn't had like confirmations from God or words from God or whatever until that thing happened with me in 1997 with the car and representing the Passover, the Nissan pickup truck on the 14-degree day and all that. But anyways, and so this is really interesting. And so it all began with the fact that I moved from the town that I lived in, which is I'm actually southeast of the town that I lived in for 11 years. I was 11 years old when I had my vision, my rapture vision, which I believe was this house. Look, I'm not leaving this house. Kenny died in this house. He was the only one in my vision. So it makes sense that this would be the house. Now, I knew I was seeing the future in my vision when I was 11. I knew that I'd seen into the future. And then I saw the rapture happen. I saw the blinding bright light. I didn't hear any sound in the whole thing, so I didn't hear any trumpets, but I did see the light. And then I saw Jesus and the saints in heaven with white robes and gold bands. And at the time, I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what I was seeing. So I know it's this house. And the rainbows that's happened here all used to happen all the time. And they started happening again, which is kind of odd because I went for about a year where I didn't really see any at all. But then as I was out there, I saw one start to form. And anyways, I prayed about it. That's when I did the community post with the picture of the rainbow. It looked like a dove, but it was a cloud. And then a face that looked like a face was looking down and smiling. So this is the house, I believe. But what's weird is my house address is 2019. My neighbor's, I'm not sure what his address is, to be honest, because these addresses don't really match the way they're supposed to, because I believe that houses were here that aren't here anymore, things like that. So there's something, the tracks have been switched up. So, but I'm not sure what his actual address is, but my neighbor's name is the same as TJ's, my son. So his name is the same. And he has a mailbox in his yard, and I believe it's the neighbors across the street because it's actually an even number and mine's an odd number. So it would be the person across the street. But nevertheless, he's got a mailbox that says 2022 sitting in his yard. It's been there all along. Everybody else seemed to have seen it except for me. I haven't seen it. I never saw it until this year. It's almost like I couldn't see it until this year for some reason. It's weird. And then my road, the name of my road actually means, it's two words. It actually means Southern Homestead, first of all. And second part of the second word means to go up rapidly and to move forward, to go up and move forward. King David ruled in Hebron, which is southeast of Jerusalem, for 7.5 years. Now here's what's crazy. My previous address was 7 Wheel Glow. I lived there 11 years. 7 Wheel Glow. That's a weird address. It's just a 7 Wheel Glow. It wasn't an apartment. I mean, this was a house. I was renting a house there. 7 Wheel Glow. I always thought that was funny. It sounded weird. It's like the number 7 will glow. Well, what if God was showing me through my life that the next house that I lived in, the 7th year would glow? In other words, it would be very important. Something would happen, something very big. Maybe pointing to my rapture dream since I lived there 11 years. You see what I'm saying? Right? So I've been here since November, and I'm pretty sure it was the 14th day of November, 2014. As of May 14th, that will be 7.5 years. Well, if I'm wrong, I'm only off by a day or two, but I'm 99.9% sure it was on a Friday. My wife argues that no, it was during the week because I asked you if you had everything. No, during that time, I was actually working half days on Saturday. But during the week, I'm real funny about having everything that I need. So I know I wouldn't have stayed here during a regular work day on a regular work week. We got the house. We closed on it right after Veterans Day, which was that week. And then we, I think it was the 12th. Veterans Day was on the 12th that year, or whatever, 11th or 12th. So by Friday was the 14th. I would have wanted to be in here as quickly as possible. We wanted out of that other place. But we had a lot of work to do and all. But I made the decision to bring our stuff over here. Our beds were delivered. All we needed was a few things to spend the night. And I wanted to spend the night in here. And it was the most peaceful sleep I had in so many years. I love it here. And we were so excited to stay here. But I don't think I would have done it during the week. So that's why I say I'm certain it had to be on that 14th of Friday. So the 14th, so even if I'm wrong, it doesn't really matter that much. Still 7.5 years approximately. But point being is if it was on the Friday, it's been exactly, or it will be exactly 7.5 years as of May the 14th this year. And May 14th is the terminal date. That's the terminal date of the fig tree that we've been talking about. Of course, there's that argument that it could have been IR5, and so it could be pushed back to May 6th, but isn't that kind of ironic? And then there's that super blood moon on the 16th. And you guys need to go watch Hourly Watch's last video. It's probably the very last video. He's talking about some stuff too that you're going to remember me talking about. The Comet 323 Soho, P Soho, Comet 323P Soho. He starts talking about that again. And 323, how important that number is to me. I mean, so many things have happened during that time. And that's also, by the way, incidentally, March the 23rd was when the rainbow appeared. That's no joke. That's the truth. So anyways, that may have been the sign. That may have been why God was putting that number in my heart so I could see that sign, that rainbow, and then that confirmation of the other rainbow brightening up afterwards. It could have been a 2-month thing. He may have been trying to, because I asked him, could you make the rainbow brighter if we're going home next month? Now, we're going home in March, because I believe that was, that's what I was asking him exactly was, if we're really going home this month, will you brighten up that rainbow? Because at first it couldn't hardly see it. But instead of it brightening up right away, first I saw that thing come up over the house. It was a big white puffy cloud, really bright glowing. And so I snapped a picture of it. It was right over the rainbow. And then I saw that cloud that looked like the dove right there at the rainbow too. And then it looked like a face. Aliyah pointed that out. She come out the door. She said, let me see. She says, oh, it looks like a face in the cloud looking down. And it does. It looks like a face, like a ghostly face, but it looks like a man smiling. Like God is smiling down. Oh, so that happened on March 23rd. And then what happened last year. All kinds of stuff happened last year. I mean, the word in Strong's means showing forth, a proclamation, an inauguration. We had a proclamation, an inauguration, and a showing forth on last March because Israel had their election. That's when the two Benjamins were trying to get the Knesset back. That happened. It was also Aliyah Day in Israel last year on March the 23rd. And that's my daughter's name, Aliyah. And Aliyah means to rise, to ascend. I didn't know that until 2021. And then, or 2020 or 2020. I think it was 2020 actually, or 2021, one or the other. I found that out. I didn't even know because I heard somebody talking about the Aliyah of Israel. I'm like, what? That's my daughter's name. What does that mean? It means to go up, to rise, to go back to Israel, to go up to Jerusalem, up to Mount Zion, whatever, the Zionist movement, whatever you want to call it, but it means to go up. They celebrated Aliyah Day, but also Aliyah Day represents Joshua taking the children of Israel across the River Jordan. And I had that confirmation when I was reading the book of Joshua and found out, I don't know how I didn't know this, but I didn't. I always thought that the children of Israel just waded across the running river. But at that time in the Bible, it says it was during the harvest season and the river was flooded. So God told Joshua to tell the priest to take the Ark of the Covenant out into the water, and he stopped it. God stopped the water flow all the way back 15 miles into the city of Adam. Then the very next day, when I got home from work, my well pump went out and my water was stopped. Guys, you can't make this stuff up. And I remember reading something, I can't remember where I was reading it, something about pulling out the dross. And I had dross in my water really bad. Once he put the new pump in, it was really heavy, thick, gray matter in the water. It was just so thick and sandy, and it was stopping up every filter and every sink. It was horrible. And I prayed to God, please clear up the water, Lord. Please, take this away. Please clear this water up. And within 3 days' time, it was perfectly clear. And also my water ran out. I was trying to run all that stuff out with the hose pipe, and the water stopped. It went off for like 5 or 10 minutes. No water at all again. That was with the new well. So I cut the power off at the pump, let it sit for a while, and then the water came back. But in 3 days' time, it was completely clear. That's crazy. That's crazy. So Joshua crossing the River Jordan. That's also a picture of going to heaven. Jordan meaning the Great Divide. That's the picture of Jesus taking us. And Joshua's name is Joshua. There was no J's back then. Joshua and Jesus were the same name in the Hebrew. So Jesus was taking the Hebrews across the River Jordan, but he did it on the Passover. On the Passover, of course, but they celebrated it on March the 23rd, which would have been Nisan 10 last year. And then 4 days later, they had the Passover. I guess the Passover was just too busy to try to squeeze that holiday in. So anyways, that's crazy. So here's a couple things. So anyways, there was more to it than that too. There's more things connecting me to David. But the main thing was, and it's not that I'm comparing myself to David or anything. This is just the way my life is modeling around that. I'm southeast of the city that I lived in, just like Joshua. I mean, it's just like Joshua. Just like David started ruling first in Hebron, southeast of Jerusalem. And he ruled there for 7.5 years. And now I've been in this house, will be 7.5 years in May. And we got the fig tree generation ending and the blood moon coming up. So could there be some kind of connection there? Could that be some kind of a sign? I don't know. It could be. And so we'll have to wait and see. And so here's something I want to read, though. And this is actually in Samuel. And this confirms what I'm telling you about David and what I'm talking about. It's in 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 11. 2:11. You can't make this stuff up, guys. 2:11. 11:11, 2:11. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And guess what happened after that? King Saul died. His sons died, or one of them, or maybe both of them died. I can't remember. I know Jonathan, I think, died with him on the field. And I think he had another son, but I'm not sure. But definitely Jonathan and Saul died. And when they did, David moved to Jerusalem, and he was coronated king in Jerusalem. I don't know when exactly, but I do know it was 1010 BCE was when he was crowned king in Jerusalem, but I don't know what time of the month. So it's funny that 1010, when you look that number up, it has a couple meanings. The binary code is like 111111 and 02 or something. I think it was 11111102 point with, so it's a really long number. But there's another one that came up. It was called quaternary code or whatever. I don't know what that is. But it was funny that the quaternary code, quaternary code, like a quarter, the quaternary code. There goes Tyler. He's leaving, going to the gym. The quaternary code was 22. Just like the year 22. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything to that. I know that you could probably take numbers and break them down and find all kinds of things if you really tried hard enough. But anyways, that was interesting. And here's the other one. In Numbers, I've been seeing all these numbers, right? I kept seeing the numbers 333. And I brought this up before, but it never actually rang in my spirit the way it did this time when I read it. And that would be Numbers chapter 33, verse 3. And they departed from Ramesses in the first month, on the 15th day of the first month, on the morrow after the Passover. The children of Israel went out with a high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. Sounds like a rapture verse to me. I don't know, guys. Could we be going home this month? Could the rapture really happen this month? Could it be next month? Well, all I'm going to say is this. If it's this month or next month, I'm still excited. If it's this year, I'm excited. But there is a lot of very interesting things happening in the world right now that point to it. And we've had some crazy news. Colorado, their governor passed a law to allow abortion 9 months, all 12, what am I trying to say? During all phases of the pregnancy, up until delivery, up until labor. In other words, when the baby's being delivered, as long as it's still in the womb, could be murdered. Because let's face it, guys. I mean, it's just saying this is murder of children, innocent children. And here's what was crazy. They said in the law, the bill that was passed, that it said that doctors may be required to participate in it or lose their medical license. Yeah. And they said in this bill, the law does not recognize consciousness. In other words, just because you feel bad about it, that's no excuse for the law, in other words. But on the good note is that Oklahoma has a I'm pretty sure it's Oklahoma. It's against the law to have an abortion. And they're trying to pass it somewhere. Tim Henderson was talking about there's another place, and I want to say it's somewhere in, is it, I can't remember where in Texas maybe? There's another state that's trying to pass legislation to stop, to make it illegal, to make it a felony for doctors to do these transgender treatments and things to minors. You know, because they were allowed to basically tinker with them, do medical procedures to ensure the gender of a child, whatever it is that they're trying to, I guess their parents are trying to make them or whatever. I don't know what. It sounds very demonic and evil, the fact that they would do something like that to start with. So way to go, praise God if they can pass that law, because nobody need to be tinkering with that stuff anyways, especially with minors. So anyways, there's that. But we got some crazy things going on, guys. I mean, you got the Ukrainian thing on the one front. You got Israel. It looks like that their enemies are beginning to encompass them. There's just so many things going on in the world, guys, and it has been for the past few years that is really pointing to the end times, to the return of Jesus Christ and for the rapture. And here is the icing on the cake. Now, I mentioned this in the last one, but this is where I'm going to end the video. This is on this last note, guys. This is just a little common sense. That's all this is. It's a little common sense here. I'm just thinking. Red heifers. The red heifer, the Temple Institute. Originally, there was these 3 heifers born that were qualified. They were qualified by the Temple Institute workers or the Sanhedrin, who, what have you. The priests, I don't know, whatever. These important people, involved in the Temple Institute and, getting the temple, the ones that are trying to get the temple rebuilt. They're the ones involved in getting everything ready for it. And they got to have a red heifer. 3 red heifers were confirmed. They were spotless, blemish free, and had all red hairs. And then all of a sudden, their hair started changing color. Some of them, few of their hairs began to change to another color. I can't remember if it was white or brown or black or what, but it changed to another color. And then, miraculously, the other day or last week or whenever it was a couple weeks ago, maybe it was in March, all of a sudden, the hairs have turned back red. This is a miracle. How often do you hear people's hair changing colors? It's bad enough they change. That'd be like our hairs turn gray and then they turn brown again. Not exactly the same principle, but I mean, that's just weird. That's just crazy. That's got to be a miracle. Maybe that's the sign that God is ready for them to start the daily sacrifice, because they cannot start it without a red heifer. Now, this is something that's arguable, whether or not they can start the sacrifices with or without a temple. I don't believe they need a temple. They just need an altar, and they need a holy spot. But I don't believe they have to have a temple to do sacrifices. In fact, they didn't have a temple in Moses' time. They just had a tabernacle. This is something that could be thrown together in a few hours. A tabernacle could be thrown together, and it would represent the temple, and for all intents and purposes would serve as a temple to start the daily sacrifice until they had the other temple built. They did that for many years. They moved around. They moved the tabernacle from one place to another. So they don't need an actual brick and mortar temple to start the daily sacrifice. But here's what's interesting. They said in 6 months' time, these 3 red heifers that have been reconfirmed, they were confirmed, then they were thrown out, they were unconfirmed, and then they were confirmed again. These 3 red heifers will be ready for sacrifice. They'll be at the age of 2 years old in 6 months' time. And that was 6 months from March. That puts us into the fall feasts, in the fall feast season, where we've been talking about the possibility of tribulation beginning anyways. Now, here's why this is important. This is so important. The Bible says that midway through the week, in the middle of the week, talking about the 7-year tribulation, the Bible says that the man of sin, or the son of perdition, or whatever, the Antichrist, as God would come into the temple of God and, declare himself to be God, but he would cause the daily sacrifice to cease and the oblation to stop. He would set up his image in the temple and defile the temple. That would happen midway. That's 3.5 years in. Okay? Now, if they're able to start the sacrifices in 6 months, then we know just by the language that halfway through is the abomination of desolation and the start of the great tribulation. that we must be in a very short window of time for the rapture, guys. That now there is some speculation, because what if the hairs change again? Then everything I just said is off the table. But is it likely? Now, I mean, there's also the possibility that one of them could get a blemish. But let me tell you something. These people want this temple. They want this sacrifice to begin again. They are going to go through every length, every possible means to protect these cows or these heifers from any kind of blemishes or cuts or bruises. And I promise you that the day that they turn 2 years old, they're not going to sit on this. They're going to sacrifice one of those heifers as fast as they possibly can before it has time to get a blemish, before it has time to change a hair color. Because as soon as it's at the age that they can sacrifice it, you can bet you that thing's getting sacrificed. They're going to be ready and waiting for it to turn 2 so they can sacrifice that red heifer. And here's the reason. They need the ashes of a red heifer to cleanse the area of the temple, to cleanse the priest and the priestly people who will be dealing with the sacrifices. Has to be cleansed with the ashes of the red heifer. And I believe it's got to be mixed with this water from a mitzvah, which is like a blessed pool or whatever. So all that has to happen. So they're not going to wait on it. They're not going to sit on it. So if they have 3, not just 1, but 3, and they haven't had one in 2,000 years, that sounds a little supernatural to me, especially the fact that they had red hairs that changed colors and went back to red. Guys, this is so exciting. This is huge. This is so huge. That means that when those cows are ready to be sacrificed, they're going to start the sacrifice. They're going to get this thing. They're going to sacrifice the red heifer. They're going to get the ashes, and they're going to cleanse the place, the spot. They're going to cleanse the workers, and they are going to probably already have the tabernacle set up where it needs to be, and they're going to start sacrificing animals. That means the tribulation days have got to start, because it's obvious that for the fact that, it's obvious. There's a timeline there. So midway during the week, the daily sacrifice would stop. Could the sacrifice have started before the week? It don't sound likely to me, being that it's been given a time frame here. And it also is it makes sense that the dispensation of grace would end and then the sacrifices would start again. Because it's because of Christ that they stopped to begin with. God ain't taking their sacrifices. During the age of grace, he is not accepting their sacrifices. Now, he may accept their sacrifices after the age of grace, because that may be a part of the kingdom gospel. That may be a part of the new instructions for the Jews during that period of time, and they got to accept Christ at some point. But I don't know. I'm not arguing that point. I don't know for sure. But one thing I do know for sure is that we are in a very tight window of time, and that 6-month period, I believe that we are going to be gone in time for Passover in heaven. And that celestial sign of the sun in Aries may be what marks the actual Passover in heaven that we will be attending in May. And the blood moon is for Israel. It's a super blood moon. It's a part of a tetrad, a part of a 25-year tetrad thing. This is a big sign. It's a huge sign. And it's literally huge because it's a supermoon. So we could be looking at getting out of here this month. Or if not this month, the very first part of May. So I don't know. I don't know. I just know that I believe that the confirmation that I had was actually a month out. I thought it was supposed to be in March, but I believe it's supposed to be in April. I'm not trying to move the goalpost. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just guessing. I just believed so strong. Those confirmations were so strong and so profound. And then a third one with the rainbow. That's 3 confirmations of the very same thing, if it was confirming anything. But that's what I asked for, and that's when it happened. So it certainly seems like a confirmation, only it didn't happen because obviously I was misunderstanding what this next month is. So anyways, guys, be encouraged either way, no matter regardless of those confirmations or not. We're looking like we might be going home soon. You need to check out Brother Aaron's last couple videos, and you need to go to Brother Tyler at Generation 2434's last couple videos, guys. So informative. And also this Manchild Ministries that did the videos about the blood moons. Look him up on YouTube too. He did a video, this last video, about the Passover and how, all about that. I mean, he broke it down in so many different ways. You'll probably hear some of the things I said in the videos. But if I can remember to do it after I get this uploaded, I will put links in for all those videos so you can check them out, guys. Be encouraged. We are very close to Jesus coming back. We could be within a month. And at the very most, at the very worst case scenario, we could be looking sometime this summer into the first of fall. I don't think that. I think we're going sooner, but I'm just saying it's the worst case scenario, because it looks like Israel is going to be able to start their sacrifices this year. And if that happens, we got to be gone. I don't think we could be here once those sacrifices begin again, because I don't think God's going to allow them to do it until the age of grace ends. If he's allowing them to get a red heifer after 2,000 years, it only makes sense that he was waiting for the age of grace to end, before he allows them to go back into this ritual. Because this ritual is in vain. To slaughter animals when Jesus is the ultimate sacrifice for all our sins. Jesus is the Lamb of God that takes away the sins of the world. Many, many scriptures point to this. So why would they even need to be sacrificing animals? God doesn't enjoy his innocent creatures being destroyed, especially with the way people do it with this. There's not even any heartfelt, nothing behind it. There's no emotion behind it. It's just an act, just going through the motions, if you will. It's just disgraceful and sad. So anyways, guys, be encouraged. I love y'all so much. And we'll see you in the next video. Or like Brother Henderson says, I will see you here. No, that's not Brother Henderson. Brother Chooch. Brother Chooch says, I'll see you either here, there, or especially in the here. You guys have a wonderful evening.